Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Cross-Chain Insider, a weekly roundup of all news traveling across chains brought to you by L.I.F I. I'm Mark, a member of the BizDev team and a big fan of bear market Twitter. My Gigabrain co-host is Arjun, the jack of all trades, master of everything at L.I.F I. What is up, Arjun?
I want to say bear market Twitter doesn't exist because it's dead.
Dude, it's like pretty much all alpha now. It's like 10 people tweeting good stuff, lots of good charts. I'm
Yeah,
about it.
10 people, two of us there out of those 10,
Exactly.
tweeting, commenting on each other's tweets.
All right, so this is the Cross-Chain Insider. Arjun publishes this as a newsletter on Substack, which you should definitely subscribe to. And after he publishes it, we run through all of the biggest news items here on this podcast. As usual, Arjun, we're going to start with the bridge updates from the last 7 days. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so let's start with one that I'm like pretty excited about because Cosmos to Polkadot bridge is now live. So Moonbeam, which is a Polkadot parachain, they've partnered with Osmosis, which is a Cosmos-based DEX, to enable one-click swaps between the two chains. And this is all being done by XLI, which is generic messaging protocol. So this partnership makes it possible to swap assets between Polkadot and Cosmos ecosystem, and two very similar ecosystems in terms of like the hub and spoke model. And now you can swap assets between them. Up next, we have probably the biggest news of this week. Did you want to say something?
Nope, go ahead.
Okay. So probably the biggest news of this week, Synapse, they announced their new chain, which is called Synapse Chain. And it's a novel smart contract execution layer. And it's built on top of Synapse generic cross-chain messaging system and value bridge. So the well, this news is like big on its own. The biggest like standout point was that Synapse has changed from a multi-sig design to an optimistic verification design, and like it was very well received by the entire bridging community. Up next, we have Arbitrum Bridge. So Arbitrum Bridge, like the native bridge UI or like the website, has gone through a redesign. And so post bridging now users are shown like cool features like waiting time, dApps they can explore on Arbitrum. And another thing that they've added now is instant withdrawals from Arbitrum. Users can use the native bridge, but Arbitrum also shows like third-party bridges like Hop connects across and Bridge at this point. I think it's like so when I use this, it like I kind of miss the old janky UI, and like it felt weird because this one was like very slick.
Yeah, the bridging experience shouldn't be so good, right?
Yeah, it felt like I don't know what's happening. So up next we have Nomad. So they've announced new cohort of investors. So in April they announced their seed round funding, which was led by Polychain Capital, and now they've like announced that Polychain is not the only one, and there are so many more big names on the list. So there's Coinbase Ventures, there's Crypto.com, Polygon, OpenSea, Wintermute, Gnosis. So it's like Avengers of investors. I don't know. It's like a very big list and very big names there. And the last one, Rubik has integrated L.I.F I as SDK. We kind of covered this last week, but this week we've done a blog post on this and we've given details in the blog post as well. So Rubik is a cross-chain swap aggregation protocol, and they've made a strategic decision to integrate L.I.F I's SDK into their application. And with the help of this application, Rubik gets like 7 bridges, 7 new chains using 6 additional dexes, 9 bridges supported by L.I.F I. So an aggregator aggregating an aggregator. What do you think?
I just clapped for it. It's a live clap.
Thanks.
Okay, so those are the bridging updates for the week. Now we will move on to the multi-chain ecosystem updates. Let's see if I can click on the correct link here. Oh, I think I did. So the first bit of news here is that Arbitrum has announced scheduled dates for its plans for the testnet upgrade before the release of Nitro. So Nitro is going to be their new update on mainnet, where it's going to kind of make the whole chain go faster. They shut down the Arbitrum Odyssey about a month ago because they were waiting for Nitro to be released. And so Nitro is coming soon. I do believe that all of the testnet upgrades went out last week, if I am not incorrect. One thing that you're going to be seeing a lot in just the crypto space in general right now is people begging developers to test out smart contracts on test nets before mainnet updates go live. So we're seeing that on Arbitrum right now. As the merge comes closer and closer, you're going to be seeing Ethereum Foundation and developers tweet out like, please test your smart contracts, please, 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 please. And so I thought that was kind of interesting.
There seem to be so many active testnets right now.
Yeah, it's a trend. Okay,
Good
so
trend.
a good trend. Yes, we need more test nets. Got to test this stuff out before it goes live. So Optimism Labs has released Drippy, a trust minimized Ethereum native conditional transaction system. I nailed that sentence right there. Okay, so Drippy works similar, like in kind of like the same faction as like if this then that technology. It's a transaction automation system. So essentially, like instead of having to like top up all of their accounts on Ethereum all the time, because Optimism and Ethereum have to talk to each other almost endlessly, like it's every second, right? And they don't want to have to top up accounts on mainnet because it's just like if you have a person doing that, that's a full-time job. They've essentially built out this bot that will do it for them. I think it's pretty cool. I need to do more research into it.
It's a cool name, is it?
Yeah, Drippy. It's good stuff. We'll get to popsicle. A very transactional relationship. Good stuff. Good stuff, Optimism. Aurora Labs has launched Vote, a decentralized governance platform to empower the community to govern protocol themselves. I cannot believe no one has taken Vote as a token name yet. That kind of blows my mind. Shout out to Aurora for
it's so obvious, and yet it's like, oh wow.
Yep. So we have DAO governance on Aurora. To get Vote, you have to stake Aurora on Aurora, is my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Next, we have Phantom's ecosystem support vault governance proposal. It's been passed. So this empowers Phantom's community of validators and stakers. They now get like a third of the burn fees. What was previously burn fees will be going to support ecosystem projects, and then people can vote on how that's going to be used. So instead of just burning Phantom FTM and it going out into the ether, it will now be used to support the community, which is pretty cool.
So much community governance stuff going on these days.
A lot of governance stuff going on. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing because the activity and like the amount of people voting isn't as high as I'd like to see on a lot of these proposals. I don't know, particularly for the Phantom one. I don't know. I didn't look at the end results, so I'm not speaking about that specifically, but just in general, I need to see more participation.
I know which one you're referring to.
Yep. Okay. Last, we have Sushi Swap. Sushi launched on Metis. They deployed the Trident 8 AMM and Bento Box on Metis, which is an L2. It's big. I feel like that was no. That's a multi-chain ecosystem. It's not a bridge. You're right. It's in the right section. Okay. So the next section of the pod is what Arjun sees on Twitter. And what Arjun sees on Twitter is what's popping.
Yeah, so we kind of discussed this a bit last time, like an update on the Horizon bridge hack. So the Harmony team, like finally they proposed a reimbursement proposal, and I like there was just a lot of tweets, code tweets, comments comments on the forum post as well, that the community basically didn't like what the team proposed. So here's a TLDR of like what the team had proposed. So they basically said, we give you two options. So one option is you get 50% reimbursement, and the other option is 100% reimbursement over 3 years, and all the tokens will be all the like reimbursement funds will be paid out in one token distributed monthly. And how would those tokens come into existence? They will be minted. So the community was like, there's no way inflation as a source of reimbursing funds is a good strategy, because you're like inflating the supply to uh, infinity basically, and then the token will go to zero. And there was just a lot of chatter about how this can be the death of Harmony, even though I don't want to say that. But the good thing is that, so the team had initially planned that the snapshot vote would go live on August 1st, and it'll be ongoing till like August 15th. But after the comments by the community, the team has decided to go back to the drawing board and work on a revised proposal based on the feedback. And hopefully they can come up with something that aligns better with the community as well. But it's a very difficult position to be in, right? Like there's possibly nothing you can do. I think okay, so reimbursing users is of course like the obvious solution. But the team has said that if they reimburse everyone with like 100 million in funds, the team will be left with nothing for development in the future. So it's a difficult position to be in.
Yeah, and I will say this about their plan. It would either be minting a 19% increase in one tokens over the current supply, or a 38% increase, which, like, in the grand scheme of things, that's a big number, but it's not catastrophic. It's not like they're tripling the supply, right? They're increasing it by, a fifth or less than half. Which I do think, like, if your foundation treasury isn't, $1 billion and you're paying out $1 million or $100 million, like how are you really supposed to do this? I think that inflationary tokenomics is going to have to be part of this proposal in some way. And so I do feel for the Harmony team, because like they're trying to figure out how to survive and pay people back. And that's tough. It's a tough line to walk.
But the thing is, like, one option is you mint 2.5 billion tokens. 2.5 billion is a very big number. Like, tokens have lesser supply, like circulating supply than this.
It's a big number of tokens, but it's only 19% of the supply.
I'm not sure if like, so the thing is that the token will also lose value. Like they're probably denoting
we
the
don't know
value
that. It's over a 3-year period.
So monthly emission is like 1 billion tokens if it's 100% reimbursement. Sorry, 137 million tokens every month.
That's, in the grand scheme of things, that's not that many. I'm not as offended by this proposal. I was the first time I read this, I was a little bit like, interesting. But the more I've thought about it,
imagine if you've lost like $1 million, and someone like 2 months later comes to your door and tells you, okay, so 3 years from now, you will be reimbursed completely.
I totally get both sides. I'm just saying the Harmony team, I think, is trying their best here. And I don't think they should
it's a very difficult position, because there's no right thing to do.
Yep.
According to the users, the only right thing would be just use the treasury funds to repay the users.
Right.
Or just you do what Ronin did and like raise more funds.
We'll see. They're going to come back to the drawing board. We'll probably be talking about this next week or the week after.
What would you have done?
What would I have done? I think I would just move on to the next section of the podcast, right? That's what I would do. All right. So after What's Poppin', we always hit a few interesting reads. Arjun, I think you're going to start us off this week. What do you have for us?
So last week we did a guest post for Alchemy Pay. And this was like an overview of the bridging ecosystem. Like, I feel like we've done this so many times, but then every time we keep adding some more detail to it that makes the uh, blog kind of special. And this one was like, again, just what are bridges? Why do we need them? The risks of using bridges, why we have like so many bridges, and the case for aggregating them, and how Alchemy Pay is like bridging fiat and the crypto world. So it's a very interesting article, and it didn't take me that long to write.
Yeah, because you're the best.
No, okay, fine. Let's move on to the next section. The next one is like a talk with Pranay Mohan from Nomad, and like the tweet says, this one talks about everything Interop. And I think like Pranay Mohan has to be one of my favorite podcasters. And like he just, the way he talks about Interop, Nomad, I don't think there's anyone better out there. So they talk about the what, why, and how behind Interop, role of bridges in the ecosystem, and the future of cross-chain governance. The last one is all the naughty but like important stuff which was talked about by D-Bridge team and their founder. So yeah, it's like how do generic messaging protocols work, when mass adoption, when interop, every hard hitting question that these guys have covered. Last one is again a talk on token terminals. So it's a new series that they started, like 15-minute fundamentals with connects, and just a very interesting new format. And it's only 15 minutes, so you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, Token Terminal is one of my favorite resources for data. They have a lot of great charts. If you ever want to look up, revenue of a certain project, Token Terminal is the way to go. We should definitely do it. Token Terminal times Li.Fi collab. That would be like dream come true for this guy.
You should hit them up.
I will hit them up.
You're a business developer.
That's true. That's what I do. I hit people up.
What do you
okay,
have?
let's see. Okay, so on my side, I wrote a blog post for Li.Fi called Native versus Non-Native Assets that pretty much tries to explain in a way that even your grandma can understand what the difference between a native asset, which is a token that's deployed by like an entity at a blockchain level or a smart chain level on a network, compared to like a non-native asset, which is anything that's like wrapped or has to go through a third party to go from chain to chain. Because like when you're bridging in the space, it can get pretty confusing. Like when you go from Ethereum to Avalanche, what are you actually getting when you move, we'll call it CRV from Ethereum to Avalanche? What are you getting? What's the CRV on Avalanche? Well, it's a non-native CRV. What is that? What does that mean? We talk about that in this piece. It was really fun to write. At one point,
glad it's like finally out.
Yeah, this only took me like 3 months to write. 3 months. It was actually like it was 2 months and 29 days of staring at a blank screen. And then it was like 3 hours of writing.
2 months, like just 3 months of staring at the screen and messaging me. I can't do this.
Yeah. Next, we have a list of bridging resources by Nomad. Awesome interoperability is what it's called. It's on GitHub. So, by the way, all this stuff is linked in Arjun's newsletter. So definitely, if you're like, oh, this sounds interesting, go click on the link in the newsletter. But here, I just wanted to highlight, like, this is pretty crazy, like wild to see Li.Fi. I think we're in here somewhere. Articles, papers. Here we go. With bridges, trust is a spectrum. That's our boy Arjun. Great work, Arjun. So that's pretty cool. But like all this stuff.
That article is my favorite, like story-wise as well, about how we went about writing it.
Yeah. It was good. But like if you're looking for any cross-chain information, this is a fantastic place to
start. I think if anyone like reads all the resources here, they're pretty much sorted.
I mean, if you read these, what is that? 8, 7? Yeah, 7 articles right there, you're good. You're in the top 5%. of Bridgeors. Next, we have a piece by Joel John, who's one of my favorite writers in the crypto space. He always just comes out. I think he posts every Tuesday or something. It's just like a great deep dive. He did a deep dive into bridges, kind of talked about how they make money. It was just an introduction, so I think it's going to be a 3-piece blog post. So you should definitely subscribe to his newsletter to get the next 2. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was very different to what type of content is there around bridges. So like this was the first article about like revenue, how bridges actually make money. So it was good to see something new.
Yeah, he always kind of takes a different angle on a topic. And so he chose revenue for bridges. I've been seeing a lot of
just the way he writes is like, it's very different to mine. So I'm like kind of jealous in every possible way.
Yeah, but I've been seeing a lot of think pieces recently about like where value is going to lie going forward in infrastructure plays in crypto. And bridging is one of those plays where it's obviously necessary. And, we're building bridging tooling at LI.FI, right? But it's like how much value is going to be placed in the connectors rather than, the chains themselves. And it's just something I'm thinking about, something that
but that's the thing, right? Like once everyone starts talking about it, it feels weird.
Yeah, I know, because we've been on this since like long time. And so now we're seeing like tweet threads about it. Feels weird. Okay, we have about 5 minutes left, Arjun. I don't have a hot take this week, honestly.
We never have a hot take, but
dude, I always have hot takes, except I don't put them on the podcast because I don't want Philip to fire me. But do you have any take? It could be a medium take. It could be like a cold take. It could be a realistic take.
I think like Synapse has started a trend combining 2 of the biggest trends, which is optimistic bridges and app chains. So just seeing a bridge as big as Synapse basically change their bridge design from multi-sig to optimistic design. It just like shows that, okay, people are actually noticing, and teams like Nomad, they're kind of bringing a change in, like they're at least making people think, okay, should we still be using multi-sigs or not? Is there a better way to do things? And probably there is. So yeah, optimistic bridges and app chains, that's the future of the ecosystem.
Okay. And what are you writing about on Friday?
Optimistic bridges and app chains.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Beautiful. That'll be so CCI, Cross-Chain Insider, our newsletter, by the way. Everyone listening, still at the I think we're at about the 28-minute mark here. We've expanded it to add a Friday post. And so every Friday, either Arjun or I will write something about the bridging space, about a trend or something, some interesting idea we came across while reading white papers. And Arjun's piece next week is, or actually this week, is Optimism Design. You should definitely subscribe.
I really like the light version because it's like there's not as much pressure to, deliver like heavy research. It's just something that we see, something that you can probably sum up in, you can't sum up in 1,000 words, but a topic you can sum up in 1,000 words. And it's just like good to spend a few hours working on it and deliver something.
Yep. And then my piece, this is going to shock Arjun for next week. It's going to be why bridges are like banks. Okay. But why they're better than banks. And I'm going to compliment multi-sigs in this piece, Arjun, multiple times, right? You didn't think I could do it? I'm going to do it because I think even
somewhere Arjun Guptani is like cursing.
Look, here's what I'm saying: are multi-sigs the optimal design for bridges? No, but is it an upgrade for moving assets from point A to point B on the internet? Yes, compared to what you have to do to move money via a bank, right? Like I think it's a fascinating trade-off. And so I'm going to be kind of talking about that a little bit.
Yeah. And we'll all be here to read it.
Yeah. And you'll probably rip it up and tell me not to write it, but whatever. Okay. Do you have anything else?
No.
No, that's it. All right. Well, that's the latest episode of the Cross Chain Insider. For more info, be sure to subscribe to the Cross Chain Insider, this newsletter that we've been talking about the whole time. You can do that at li.fi.substack.com. You can also check out Li.Fi, Li.FI. We're building the ultimate cross-chain money Lego. You can check us out on Twitter at LI.FI Protocol, Li.Fi Protocol. And you can also hop into our Discord. You can always ping me or Arjun on Twitter, Discord. If you can find our email us. So I don't know any emails. So yeah, with that, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week.